Man, well, let's get you the right video here. Apologies for that. Don't know what happened, but we'll get you going here. Okay, so some good notes here in the wet. I love it. Back-to-back race weekends in the wet here. And some good stuff to work on. So starting off here, freaking hell of a race start. Great job with your timing, throttle control, vision through it. Really, really happy. So we're coming into turn 2 here on the first lap. And what I want to show you here is we come in here, we turn into turn 2, and what's going to happen is right about here, the car starts to slide on you, and it's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And then all of a sudden, right here, the car grips up and it hooks up. And all of a sudden, right there, boom, you get to the outside of the racetrack and you gain grip and the car hooks up. I want you storing that in your mind. And what I would have realized right then and there is, oh shit, I need a rim shot turn 2. And the way that we drive in the wet, these type of carousel corners, I've got more experience in the wet around Road America, for instance, what has that long carousel corner, is you drive it down in on the normal line. And if the car hooks, great. But most of the time when I'm anticipating is the car to start to slide. And if it starts to slide and then hooks up here, that's where we rim shot. And then we rim shot around the outside of the corner all the way through, right? So I would then want to see you placing the car like way out over here, all the way through the corner. Now I do see, and this is a little bit hard for me to tell, but later in the corner, it starts to get like really ripply here. I don't think those are puddles. I think it's just kind of like, some shit on the track. So it's hard for me to say a little bit like at that point when I come just inside to where you are right about here. If that's not a worry, then I would be I would not worry about this apex point. I would just be rim shotting all the way through. And the other thing that confirms that for me is a little bit here, just on lap 1, this car right in front of us here, they come down to the apex point, they start to accelerate, and then, whoa, shit, I'm storing that. Oh shit, there's just no grip on the rubbered in line there. And the reason we want to apex there is to get the car kind of pointed and get back to full throttle. But if we can't do that, we're not really gaining any extra speed. So then we're better off rim shotting around here and kind of keeping up our minimum speed. So tomorrow, if it's wet, I want to see you trying to, turn down to turn 2 kind of like normal, right? I don't want you rim shotting too early because there's a little bit of a downhill here. There's a little bit of camber. So kind of turn in where you are here, but bring enough speed so the car slides wide, hooks up, and then drive it harder around the outside of this corner here. So I want you to see you store that information a little bit and make those changes. It's a little bit something we talked about in Butterwill, and that's going to start to come up here in our next point, right? So moving on to 348, turn 3 looks pretty good. So now the next little piece of data comes up. So we're turn 4, we're inside of the rubbered in line right now. We're inside with the rubbered in line. We come through, we apex kind of normally. I'm fine with you trying this line first lap. And then what do I notice? Right here, right when we come across the rubbered in line, the car slides. The front end slides, we lose grip, and we can't get back to throttle, right? You get that dull understeer. And then all of a sudden you get out here and the car sorts itself. I want you storing that information, right? So now what am I thinking next lap? Next lap, I'm thinking, well, let's rim shot this thing, because right when I got to the rubbered in line right here, car slides, can't accelerate. And if you just kind of help you visualize that, look at the mile an hour here, right? You start to accelerate now, it goes up to 51, car is sliding, oh shit. Then we back off of it, and then we lose speed down to 47, right? Just a small little thing. So now next lap, what do I want to see you do? I want to see you rim shot here. So let me just kind of skip forward to 542, show you your next line through your next lap through here. If anything, we apexed even earlier, same thing. Oh shit, deceleration after the apex point, right? So this is where I would like to see you in turn 4, try one of two things. You accelerate out of here, go left, and just rim shot from this point on all the way around. Now, I know if we're all the way wide right about here, we're on the rubbered in line. That may be a problem. So there's one of two things. One is maybe it's okay. You're all the way wide right now and just stay wide. Try not to apex. Just try to stay a car width and a half off the apex point. If it's a little sketchy on the rubbered in line here, then what I'm doing is kind of driving your line now. But right about here, I'm going to go straight. So I'm going to cross over that rubbered in line. So the rubbered in line, is coming across the racetrack, kind of down to the floorboard. So then I'm going to go straight across it and then go to the outside of the track here. So I'm going to first try rim shot all the way through 4. If the rubbered in line kind of earlier in this corner all the way wide is spit sketch, I'm going to go inside of it. Then I'm going to drive straight. I'm going to cross over with my hand straight, and then I'm going to rim shot around the outside here. Okay. And then what I'm going to start to see is how is the power down going wide, accelerating out, and I'm going to see how the power down is. If it's really bad out over here, then I might even be driving down the middle of the road. So get the car really rotated and then drive it down the middle of the road. So the big thing I'm trying to do is as the rubbered in line, actually, let me draw it like the blues. So the blues, like this rubbered in line, right? It does this, something like that. I want to be trying to cross that with my hands as straight as possible, as little amount of load as possible. So I think a little bit of a rim shot here will be good for you to try. Okay. So if I back this up here, let me go. Sorry, I just wanted to make that kind of back-to-back point there. Even in turn 1, we turn it in here. We're on the right line for the dry, but even in here, I see that little bit of kind of rubber. Car starts to slide. Good save here. I'm storing that. I'm saying, hey, next lap, I want to be, a car width off that rubbered in line, a half car width off, a car width off here. It's hard because turn 1's cambered, so you don't want to be super wide here. This is not the type of corner I would rim shot, because you lose a lot of that camber. But I would be maybe a car width wider, and just kind of car width wider all the way through. I would experiment with that. And it might just be that the slick line is just the better line through here. But I would try to be off of that, because I think there's a little bit more grip, just about a half car width off, right? So the next change, just 2 more notes for you, is into turn 5. I want to see you with a much later turn to the right. We're far too early in here, and that's really compromising 5, 6, and 7, and all the way out of 7 down to turn 8. So you're turning in too early, and you're apexing way back in here. I want to be turning in later and try to like a little bit more straight line this brake zone. So I want to be coming through and apexing after the start of this curve here on the inside. So we're probably turning in. We're probably turning in 3 car lengths too early. I'd like to see probably turning in a little bit closer to here, and then really trying to late apex it to straighten out this brake zone here. And then the next part of this is into turn 5 itself. I probably don't want to apex here. So I actually want to hold it more right here, and I want to be probably a half car width off the apex around here. I want to be not quite rim shotting it, but wide of the rubbered in line here. You really lose grip to the rubbered in line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be wider here where I've got more grip. And then my next focus is really getting that left before turn 7. So if I bring it out wider, I've got a little bit more grip. I'm going to have an easier time. I'm not going to be sliding as wide here. I'm going to be kind of already get the car, bringing it back to the left, And I really want to focus here on getting back to the left side of the road here. So kind of like that kind of car width off the apex of turn 5, the car's going to grip up for you all the way through there. And then because you've got more grip, you're going to have an easier time working it back to the left side of the road into turn 7. And now you're not going to be as compromised into turn 7, right? So here your radius is just tighter than it needs to be. So we have to overslow turn 7. It's too tight. So I want to be all the way left here. In the dry, we can get away with this. In the wet, I care a little bit more about getting all the way left so that I could be a little bit straighter through turn 7, so I can get back to full throttle a little bit earlier. I think actually this is into 5, through 5, and out of 6, actually 6. I think is actually kind of what this right-hander is. This is the section we're probably losing the most amount of time in, and it's mostly because we're turning too early into the turn 5 brake zone. Need that later point. Okay, so the final point is, we're under driving a little bit in turn 9. Totally fine with us having more margin for error and being more conservative here. What I don't want that to cause is for us to apex too early. So because we're under the limit of the car, we can turn and the car responds, right? And because of that, we apex far too early, right? In the dry, we're apexing kind of right about here. So see how we're apexing the car length too early? Now, this could be because it's hard to see, right? But because of this, because we apex too early, we just lose all of this grip out on corner exit. And notice, where does your minimum speed come, right? You're at 81 here, 82. We're losing all of the speed, 73. Our minimum speed, 73 miles an hour, is as you get out to the exit curve. Okay. So I do think you probably have to apex here, right? Because there's just a little bit more cambered. I would experiment and just see what is it like a car with off the apex. I would anticipate that not being good. I would anticipate saying, no, I don't like that. I need to apex. But when I apex, I don't want to apex earlier than what I would do in the dry. At the very minimum, I'm apexing the same point, but probably coming through and doing a later apex here so I can really maximize my full throttle application out of here. So we're just, because we're under drive in is two, we're early apexing turn 9 here. So the biggest points here is turn 2, turn 4, maybe even trying it in turn 3, rim shotting them. Later turning point down into turn 5 breaks them, so we can straighten that out. Wide of the turn 5 apex, so that you can then get back to the left side of the road to open up the radius for turn 7. Turn 9, we're just apexing way too early. Work on that later apex point. Those are the major notes here. Let me know if you have any questions at all, and let's go rock it tomorrow.